What is up, guys? So you guys asked about what 4-star artifacts you guys should be maxing and which ones you guys should be not prioritizing as much. So I decided to make this tier list today to actually help all of you newer players out there. So this tier list will be focusing on 4-star artifacts only of every single class. And as you guys can see at the bottom here, we have the event and side story artifacts as well as the Hall of Trials artifacts at the bottom. So these don't really count because they're going to be available from side stories, from check-in events, etc. We're just going to be talking about the artifacts that you can actually pull for. Now, we have these artifacts separated into 4 tiers, right? We have the S tier. These artifacts, you want to have as many as you can max. Now, obviously, you don't want like 10 copies or anything, but some of these, which we'll talk about, you want like 5 or 6 even. And these artifacts are going to be very, very powerful and used pretty much all the time, everywhere in both PvE and PvP. Next, we have the A tier artifacts. These you want to actually have multiple copies max because they're still very good, just not as universally used as the S tier artifacts here. Next, we have the B tier artifacts. These artifacts, although they are pretty decent, they're going to be a little bit more niche, but still pretty strong in their own right. And on certain units, they're very powerful, so you're going to want to have 1 or even 2, sometimes even 3, honestly, of these copies max, depending on the units you have. And next, we have the C tier artifacts. These artifacts, to be honest, are not that great. That's why you only want 1 maxed. And the reason why you don't want to actually throw away an artifact that you don't have is because 4-star artifacts get buffed pretty often. So you definitely want to make sure you already have one of these artifacts maxed in your inventory in case they do get buffed. And these artifacts become very, very good, or a unit releases that uses these artifacts very well because, yeah, 4-star artifacts aren't as readily available as 3 stars. So if you do end up not having an artifact that gets buffed, it's going to be a while before you can actually get a max copy of that artifact. So yeah, but basically we're just going to be talking about these artifacts. Obviously the ones in C tier, just to talk about it again, you don't have to have these at plus 30 because they're kind of like the waiting room artifacts. But for the other ones like B tier, A tier, and S tier, you want to have these artifacts maxed out if you're ending up using them on certain units. So starting off the S tier, to no surprise, we have Aureus, the Knight artifact. It is the premier mitigation artifact for Knights. Just to list Knights that use this that are in the meta for both PvE and PvP, right? You have like Yulha, you have Last Rider Crow that can use this. You have Adventurer Ross. If you're using Falconer Clary for PvE, you want her on this, right? You can also use this on like Fallen Cecilia if she's your knight of choice. You can use this on Blue Crow. So many options, right? And it's just super powerful because it boosts the defense of your entire team, making them more tanky. And also it'll make your knight, which is usually stacked on a ton of defense and health, to actually soak 20% of the damage taken by your team. Basically, it's just a 20% damage mitigation artifact for your entire team, making it super powerful for both PvE and PvP. Definitely can't have too many of Aureus's, guys. Like, I still find myself regretting not saving all of these because, yeah, I have like 5 maxed out copies, but honestly, I think I could be using like 6 or 7 if I want to keep my units geared. Now, if you end up having only 4, it's fine. You'll just have to swap your Aureus around. Switching artifacts doesn't cost too much gold. I think it's 25k when you unequip it, which is actually a lot, to be honest. But Aureus, definitely an artifact that you want a lot of copies of. You don't need to have too many though because you can always swap them around, like I said. Next up, we have Togahell's Ancient Book, probably one of the most broken 4-star artifacts in the game by design. This artifact will actually, what it actually does, it gives you 20 souls at the start of battle, and this can get prevented by Bellion's S2. But this artifact is used pretty much all the time on pretty much a ton of mages for PvP, right? You can use this on like Spectre Tenebria, Angel of Light Angelica. You can use this on Researcher Carrot. You can use this on Milim. You can use this on any cleave unit that is a mage, like Ada. If you're still using Basar, you can use it on Basar, ML Laika, right? There's so many units that are good that use this artifact. And honestly, if you're playing a mage unit in both PvP, I wouldn't say PvE, but in PvP, and you don't know what to put on that unit, you can just put Togahell's Ancient Book, and it's never bad. It's always going to be good or better. So yeah, definitely a very powerful artifact. You want pretty much as many copies as you can, honestly. I find myself using like 6-ish, but honestly, if you have like 3 or 4, it should be good enough as long as you swap it around sometimes. But a ton of units use this artifact, so you definitely want to make sure you have a ton of copies of Togahell's Ancient Book. Next up, we have Moonlight Dreamblade. So Moonlight Dreamblade, premier thief artifact for evasion units. You use this on like Green Violet. You can use this on like Savior Aiden. You can use this on Remnant Violet as well, and even like Kayron, right? And even like Tempest Cern, who's making a resurgence in the meta. Now, there are going to be better options sometimes for those units, right? For example, Tempest Cern, very good on Alexa's Basket. Remnant Violet, very good on Double Edged Decrescent. Both are 5-star thief artifacts. But if you're looking for a good, cheap option that you can get multiple copies of just by playing the game, Moonlight Dreamblade is extremely, extremely good. It gives you that 20% evasion. It will also give you an attack buff when you dodge, so you get a lot of value out of this. In some situations, this will end up being better than the 5-star artifacts that are recommended on other units because the attack buff will always proc, right? While the other ones like Double Edge the Crescent, it's a chance to counter. So Moonlight Dreamblade, definitely premier thief evasion artifact. You know, having like 3, 4, 5 copies, definitely recommended, especially because we have a ton of evasion thieves nowadays, right? We have like Violet, Remnant Violet, Savior Aiden, like I mentioned, Fire Kayron. You can use this on just any thief that wants to survive long, and it's going to be very, very good. I've even seen this used on units such as like Closer Charles and Acid. It's really up to you. Next we have Magaraha's Tome. It's a Soul Weaver artifact. Very, very good because it is so flexible. Now there are going to be better Soul Weaver artifacts in the game, right? You have like Amelia's artifact, you have Ocean Breeze Luca's artifact, but the thing is, Magara's Tome is always just a slot in. Similar to Toggao's Ancient Book, if you don't know what to put on your Soul Weaver, Magaraha's Tome is going to be always good. Any Soul Weaver that has 2 non-attack skills on their S2 and S3, which is going to be the majority of them, will do very well with this artifact because you just CR push yourself and cycle very frequently, which is very good on Soul Weavers because usually Soul Weavers are very cooldown reliant on their S2 and S3, and by cycling fast, you'll actually be able to take more turns and refresh the cooldown, and this will scale with your speed. And usually Soul Weavers are very quick in RTA and PvP as well, so it's very nice. PvE, it's also very good. You can use this on a ton of units, right? You can use this on like a Momo, even Tamarin, right? In PvP, you can use this on like Doris. You can use this on pretty much any Soul Weaver with 2 non-attack skills, like Amelia if you really want. Really up to you. Very, very powerful artifact. Now we're in the A tier. These artifacts still very good, but not as frequently used. So first we have Adamant Shield. This is going to be a little bit worse in damage mitigation, but the thing is with Adamant Shield is this works with Escort. Aureus does not work with Escort, guys. Escort will override Aureus, but Adamant Shield will work with Escort, making it very good on units such as SC Arrowell, which is probably the best knight in the meta right now, which is probably why it's in the A tier. And also it's good on knights if you're running a unit that has Escort, such as like Payra. So if you like to Payra pick in like RT and Guild Wars, this is going to be a very good artifact for you to have to put on your knight if you want extra mitigation. Also very good in PvE as well if you don't want your knight to die too quickly. It's also a very solid option of Falconer Clury because Falconer Clury likes to be very fast, meaning you're giving up a lot of health and defense. So that means if you have her on Aureus, sometimes she dies to AoE attacks. So Adamant Shield's a good option because it just mitigates a ton of damage for your team. Next we have Water's Origin. Similar to Magaraha's Tome, it's a very, very good Soul Weaver artifact. You're going to want to use this similar to Magaraha's Tome on Soul Weavers if you don't know what to use on your Soul Weaver or you're missing their, best in slot artifact. But this will be on units that don't have 2 non-attack skills like Magaraha's Tome that want to actually be more tankier. Also, it's going to be used on units that actually like to hold their cooldowns for a long time. So you can see commonly on Rowana, on Ruel of Light, on Blood Moon Haste if you're still using him. Haha. Just a ton of units can use this, even like DJ Basar, right? Just all these units that like to hold their skills for key moments, it's going to be very good for. Honestly, it probably could be S tier, but those units that I mentioned are not too meta, I'd say, except like Rowana. So you don't really need too many copies because, yeah, not going to be used too much because the units aren't that, super high priority, where Magara's Tome is going to be a lot more used. Next, we have Wondrous Potion Vials. Similar to how the Soul Weaver artifacts works, you're going to use this on, pretty much Soul Weavers that don't have cleansing built in, but you want some cleansing on them and you don't really care about the CR push or tankiness, right? So you can use this if you're finding yourself struggling against debuff heavy teams. Also really, really good in PvE for like Tamarin, who doesn't have too much cleansing, and in some nightmare boss fights such as Juliet Council. Just anything where you need cleansing, this will be very good. You're going to use this a lot more often than you think, especially for PvE. Next we have Kaladra. This is going to be the best mage boosting damage artifact for PvE. It's going to be very good in expeditions, very good in hunts as well. If you're doing Ram or any mage one-shot in Banshee or even any hunt, Kaladra will be the best option. In expedition, if you're using like Zealot Carmen Rose or any mages there as well, like Ball and Sazan, I believe, right? This is going to be the best damage artifact as well. So you definitely want to make sure you have multiple of these because you're going to use this a lot in PvE. Now we have B tier artifacts, guys. So these artifacts are still pretty good, but they're going to be more for like niche units, and we're going to talk about these units very quickly. So Dust Devil, guys, is going to be used pretty much on thieves that have very, very strong S1s that don't really rely on dodging. So a good option would be like Spirit Eye Celine, probably the best artifact for her because you get 2 S1 procs, do lifesteal, hella, and then you do a ton of damage because her S1 hits like a truck. And because of her buffs, her S1 will be enhanced every time she's in her upgraded, S3. I forget what it's called, but it's like the undispellable thing, Spirit's Eye, I believe. And it just hits super hard, so you can one-shot a lot of units if this proc, so very, very good. Also good on Kayron, because if you counterattack with Kayron on counter set and you proc Dust Devil, you do 2 AoE hits, which hits super hard, especially if you're at low HP. Very good on thieves like that. Elia's Knife, also a thief artifact. Also good on Kayron if you don't want to rely on Dust Devil proc, because it just does penetration if they are damaged. Also very good on units that are kind of like bridge units. So for example, like Closer Charles, if you're using him as like a secondary opener after unit goes, like Ran or Peyra, you can use Elia's Knife to get extra damage. So a lot of options. Just like, you don't want to use this on like the fastest unit on your team for PvP because it won't get any like benefits, but like your second fastest, third fastest thief unit can always use this. Like Green Sid can use this as well. And for PvE, like I mentioned, you can use this on any thief because this penetration is always good. Defense penetration, guys, don't take it weird. But yeah, next we have Eternus, guys. So this is going to be very good on like DJ Bazaar and just any Soul Weaver that is only there to really cleanse. So DJ Bazaar is very good because you get that boost to S3 right after. You can use this on something like Ocean Breeze Luluka if you don't have her artifact. You can also use this on any Soul Weaver that you're using primarily as a cleanser, like even like Destina, I saw once or twice on this in RTA and Emperor. So not bad. Always a niche Soul Weaver option for cleansers, like dedicated cleansers, right, on very high effect resist. Next we have Hell Cutter. So this artifact is very good for hunt one-shots on warriors like Fire Zermia. You can use it on strays, right, if you really want. And in PvP, it's also going to be good on strays and also LQC, just slow warriors that are looking to just one-shot a unit. Now, nowadays, you're not going to use this too much because strays is built on the fast build and LQC is not used as frequently as before, but still nice to have at least one copy, especially if you have to use your LQC to take down dark units, especially in Guild Wars, or if you actually use a warrior like I mentioned, like Zermia for hunt one-shots. Now we have Silver Rain. This is a thief artifact. When you use a non-attack skill, you'll give attack buff to an ally with the highest attack. Mostly only going to be used on like Ran, especially if you're cleaving. So if you do like to Ran cleave, you can use Silver Rain on him. More commonly, we see Arnel, Rihanna, and Luciella for extra turns, but that's a 5-star artifact if you don't have access to that. And also because Arnel at like plus 15, it doesn't proc that often. Silver Rain is a way more consistent choice, especially for cleavers because you get that attack buff, so it's very nice to have a copy for cleaving. Now we're getting to the C tier. So like I said, these artifacts not that great, just kind of in the waiting room. I'm not going to really talk about this too much. I'll talk about a few that I think have some potential. Like Sierra Ren's okay for like Ancient Inheritance if you want to stack debuffs, or even like Wyvern 13 if you need more debuffs, but not that great. Sepulchrum's good on warriors that want to be more tankier and you don't have your Proof of Valor available. Sasha Ithane is very good on Watcher Shuri for PvP, good on Issaria for PvE. Rosa Hargana, not that great except for like, Rangers for PvE. Like I see sometimes like I think Furious on it if you don't have Song of Stars or even Infinity Basket. El's Fist is good on units such as like Kitty Clarissa for PvE if you want to use it on her, or just like any warrior that wants effect resist. I've seen this artifact, honestly I think this is like not bad, Barthez's Orbiculum. It's like okay on like Researcher Carrot if you don't want to run her on Book. And also I've seen it on Sylvan Sage Vivian as well. It just gives you a chance to reduce damage taken, but there's RNG, so it's not that great. And also we have Strock Gauntlet, which is going to be used for Kitty Clarissa or Meteor Carol. Yeah, El's Fist, I was wrong. This is used on, I don't think this is really used, honestly, but I think you can use this on units that scale with defense, I believe. But Strock Gauntlet's the one that gives you effect resist, my bad. But yeah, those are the C tier artifacts. Now event or side story. Some of these are available from the side story that you can actually use your ticket on to actually start. Some of these are from events that are not running anymore, I believe. But a lot of these are like kind of the same, right? You have like, I'm pretty sure 1 Year of Gratitude's EXP. And then you have like Cutie Panda, which is also EXP. And then you have, and there's another one that's like EXP as well. Two New Worlds. So a lot of these are like the same, just like anniversary artifacts that do the same thing, just renamed and new artwork. And a lot of these are just not that good because they are from, like I said, side stories. Oh, some of these are very good though. We'll talk about those very quickly. So Card of Small Miracles, I believe this gives you damage, right, for your team, good on hunt one shot. You have Super Duper Water Gun Shooter, gives you attack and effectiveness, which is good for hunt one shot. You have Nostalgic Music Box, which is Christmas, I believe. probably the best in slot artifact for Conqueror Lilius. You have Midnight Bloom, gives your team crit chance, very good for Hunt one-shot. Portrait of the Savior, some guilty gear, very good for cleave. And just, you know, any unit that wants damage. Also, we have Our Beautiful Seasons. I think this is recent. This gives you extra damage to bosses. It's very good for expeditions and also hunts. Yeah, and then below that we have Hall Trials. Honestly, the only one from Hall Trials worth it now is like Isle of Violin. This is very good for PvE and sometimes for PvP, but not really. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this 5-star artifact tier list though, guys. If you guys have any, you know, qualms or disagreements, let me know, because always open to your opinions. I feel like this is pretty accurate though. I think maybe you can put like Adamant Shield up, or like Water's Origin up, or like sometimes Magra's Tome down. But I think for the most part, everything's like one tier like above or below or in the right tier. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And as always, if you guys want to see more tier lists like this, make sure you guys leave a like and consider subscribing. And also let me know in the comments down below what else you want in your tier list. I'm open to your ideas. This was actually inspired from some comments. So yeah, appreciate your comments, guys, and I'll see you guys next video.